Technical difficulties. Sorry, man. All right. Do you see me? Because I don't see you. Oh, cool. Totally makes sense. Ask you if you use like something else, but I was like, you know what? Let me just. I'm sure it has something to do with him connecting it to his other technology. So I yeah, right. Yeah, totally makes sense. Yeah, dude. I haven't used Skype in years. That's why I was like, I was trying to log in like 15 minutes earlier, and then I was having problem like getting in, so I just spun up um, a new username, and then that's probably why you were like, I added you, and I'm like, I'm not seeing anything, so that's exactly why. Um, I use Zoom like now with like mostly everything, but um, yeah, if you're comfortable with like Skype and how you use it, like why change it, you know? Oh, yeah. You'll figure it out. Oh man, I know. It's crazy. Fuck crazy. Of course. Yes, correct. Yep. Um no, I was working 1 day a week while I was working at my desk job in the restaurant. So I was like like on the weekend, like a Saturday or Sunday. And then eventually I made the full transition to work full time at the restaurant. No, I was still working for free. I basically saved a lot of money at my company to afford to kind of do this jump. Yeah, exactly. I was meal prepping for myself, and yeah, I was very interested in like the whole food world, since a young kid, and that's what made me make the transition. What else was I? I decided not to go to culinary school because a lot of the chefs that I worked for basically said, "Don't waste your time and money. You can learn everything on the job," and that yeah. Yeah, of course. I can kind of go into it, but that's basically the general gist of why. And I was literally I was interviewing. I could tell this in the podcast, but I was interviewing at different like culinary schools. Like I sat in like on a class. I met with administrators. Like I was very close to like to going to spending the money and going, and I decided to hold off. I mean, I'm in Hoboken, New Jersey, which is like right next to New York City. Okay, perfect. Yeah. I was in New York City and I was in Jersey City, which is right next door to Hoboken. Yeah, that's a big city. Y- Yeah, I mean, I was at like three different restaurants, um, throughout New York City and Jersey City. Yeah, 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 of course. Yep. Wow, it's crazy. It's a great story. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I know him. I know of him, obviously. That's crazy. Of course. Yeah, I figure podcasts are like very popular now. So, oh yeah. Of- Yeah, listen, man, I'm an open book. I'm very transparent. Like I don't mind, like whatever I say, like let's run with it. But yeah, but on the off chance if I'm like, oh, don't record it. I'll say, you can edit it. But and then he fumbled his words or whatever. Yeah. Right. Oh, God, wow. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right, right. Not that big a deal. Yeah, exactly. That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, I'm not getting a job anytime soon somewhere else, so I don't care about people googling my name or anything like that. So that's funny. That's hilarious. Let's go. Let's rock it. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm happy to be here, tell my story. Um, it is crazy times, but I'm just trying to stay positive and um, try to find a silver lining out of all this craziness, and just continue to go forward. Sure. Yeah. So my name is Nick. I run a meal prepared meals, healthy company called Ready Strong Meals, and basically what we do is we make healthy food available to people. So if you're looking to lose weight, if you're looking to gain weight, maintain weight, etc., we can make that happen. So, we started about a year and a half ago, and now we're doing hundreds of meals on a weekly basis. So it's growing day by day, week by week, and we're really excited to be doing this. I'm excited to be doing this podcast, and um, happy to get interviewed by you, and we can go from there. So right now we only do 1 day deliveries, but we're looking to eventually um implement another day. Most of our so we basically we cook everything the day of delivery, and our meals last anywhere from 3 to 4 days, and we recommend, obviously people can freeze the meals day of, which maintains its freshness and quality. But it is something that we are looking into eventually, rolling out another day, so it can, benefit those people. But right now, 1 day is enough for us, and we make sure we cook everything day of, and the food typically lasts anywhere from 3 to 4 days. Sure. Yeah, so I graduated college with a business marketing and management degree, and didn't really know what I want to do with myself. I was kind of just like, hey, like I want to make money, but I wasn't sure what I really wanted to do. And I was always good with communicating with people, and um, just talking, and kind of telling, stories and things like that. So I was like, you know what, let's go into sales. So I winded up working for a technology company for about 4 or 5 years, and then transitioned to another technology company. Kind of same position, selling, but a bigger company. The company was called Salesforce. They're out in Midtown, New York, and their headquarters is in San Francisco. So I was selling software to financial services companies, and basically I did well. I was doing well, and it was I learned so much from the incredible people there, but I just felt like I wasn't really making an impact. And I always tell people this now because of my story. Don't do something just for the money, because you eventually will lose interest. You won't be passionate about it, and it's just not going to be good for both parties. So I wasn't feeling like I was making an impact, and I actually winded up leaving my desk job to work in kitchens for free, which is pretty crazy. Yeah. Yep. So I started out in inside sales, and then I eventually got promoted to outside sales, which it was basically like a hybrid. It was inside slash outside. I would kind of make my calls throughout the day, and then I would have meetings. For me, I was lucky to have a territory in New York City, so I can just kind of pop out, say hello to a meeting, talk with them, and then kind of come back to the office and do what I have to do. So it was, I was it was definitely, good in that sense. Sure. Yeah, it's very hard. And so it was funny. Like when I first started, I was actually going out to eat all the time, and I was ordering lunch. I was ordering salads. Salads in New York City are like 14, $15 a pop, which is absolutely insane for lettuce and chicken, right, and some vegetables. And then I was going out to dinner. We'd have happy hours. We'd have dinners with clients, and I would look at my credit card bill every month. And although I was making good money, um, a, I was spending a lot of money, and B, I wasn't eating that healthy. I would eat a salad once a week, and then I would eat, other things, right? I wouldn't eat healthy. So I was like, let me actually do it on my own, right? I came from a Italian background. My mom always cooked. My grandma always cooked. They kind of showed me the ways, and I always knew what I was doing in the kitchen. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go to the grocery store. I'm gonna prep my own meals, and this is how it's going to be. So that's what I started doing. Kind of into my career was I was going to the store on Sundays. I was meal prepping, for a few hours on a Sunday, and then I would have my meals ready to go for the week. So I was always conscious of that because I wanted to eat healthy and I didn't want to spend a ton of freaking money, especially in New York City with some of those lunches. I think it was physically and mentally because my thing is like when I eat well, I felt really good, and I was in a sales role, so like I needed to project energy and stay positive and meet with these clients and be able to be healthy, and when I ate like crap, I kind of felt like crap. So when I decided to eat healthy and cook my own meals, I just felt better throughout the week, and it just kind of it motivated me more. Um, and then on the flip side, like I was, like I mentioned, like I was spending a lot of money on going out to eat for lunch and dinner, and after a while, that all adds up, and you're like, oh my god, I spent $40 on lunch and dinner today. So it was kind of getting out of hand. Mhm. Yep. Yeah, so like, let's say it's a Wednesday, and I'm ordering out, right? Let's say like I have Chinese food. I have, some fried chicken and rice, and just a lot of carbs, a lot of food deep fried in oil. And I had a meeting, let's say in at 3 o'clock. When I would eat that lunch at 12 o'clock, I would literally like feel I couldn't do anything after. I couldn't do anything for a few hours, and I would just feel very, very lethargic and just not myself. But on the flip side, if I'm eating, a grilled chicken salad, let's say it's Thursday and I'm eating grilled chicken salad with, vegetables and all wholesome, healthy meals. I have that same meeting at 3 o'clock. It's like I'm a different person. I just you just feel different. You feel a little lighter, and you can kind of take on the day. Whereas when I ate, crappy food, I just felt like I was in a slump and I didn't want to do anything and I wasn't motivated. And I truly believe that. And some people, they can eat like crap and kind of, be productive. For myself personally, like I know, like yeah, there's I'm human, right? Like, on Sundays I like to cheat and have those days, those lazy days where I'm just like eating like crap and not doing anything. Like, sure, you should definitely do that, treat yourself. I truly believe in that, but not on a consistent basis. I really think that there's you need balance, right? You need to be able to, in my opinion, eat healthy 5, 6 days a week, and then have that one day where you can eat like, eat whatever you want. So that's just, my personal take on it. Sure. Yep, exactly. Say it sucks. Exactly. And I've done all those diets. I've done keto, I've done Whole 30, I've done a form of like Atkins, and they're good. They're good for the short term. If you want to shed some weight, but I think long term, it's really up to just eating, healthy, wholesome, food that will, that really lasts for me at least. Some people they think it, they view keto, something like keto as a lifestyle, and good for them. So it's really just I listen to my body, right? Listen to your body, how you feel, and the rest will come. Yep. Right. Really. Yeah, that's smart. I think that's smart on your end because a lot of people they just go after what their friends are doing or what the media tells them to do, or they see something on Instagram. Oh, I'm gonna do this, and it's funny every time. They do it for 3, 4 days, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, and then it just it doesn't pan out to be anything. Whereas you're saying you're just like you're very self aware of that. You're like I like carbs too much. I'm not even gonna try it. fuck this, and that's it. Like, screw this. I'm gonna do my thing and eat brown rice and white rice and potatoes and whatever, and I'm gonna live my lifestyle. And kudos to you. Yep. I kind of did. Yeah, a lot of people were like, "What do you got, man? Like that looks really good." Like I would heat up my meal in the microwave, and the smell would go throughout the office. People are like, what is that? Like that looks really." I was like, "Oh, it's just like fresh chicken with tomatoes, onion, garlic, like nothing crazy." They're like, "Oh my god, like that sounds really good." Um, and then like one person was like, "Hey, could you make me like a meal?" And I was like, "Sure." So I was making meals for like three people at Salesforce, and had a little side business going on while I was while I was working. And they were like, "Dude, like this is really good. Like you should you know try to do something with this." And then that kind of like got the wheel spinning. I was like, "Huh, like I know how to cook. I know my way around the kitchen. Like let me see if I can reach out to some other chefs and maybe take this a little bit further." Like I was thinking about maybe even going to culinary school while I was working at Salesforce. But I knew that was never going to be like, I knew that I needed to either pick one or the other. Like I'm very like, once I commit to something, I'm committed. I can't be like half in, half out. If I was doing the Salesforce and I was doing culinary school, it would just be like it would be very tough, you know. And also I wouldn't have a life. I think having a life is very important. You want that balance, like I was saying before. So I kind of decided to, while I was working at Salesforce, to work one day a week at a restaurant, just to dip my toe in the water and see if it could be the life for me. Um, and I winded up doing it. It was actually funny. A guy that I worked with at the previous company got me the job at Salesforce. Like I had to do the whole interview, whatever, but he got me the referral. And then he actually connected me with one of his best friends who's a chef. And then I reached out to him. We got some drinks, whatever. And he's like, "Dude," he's like, "if you want, like, you can come to my restaurant and work." So it was funny. So it was like a Saturday, and like my first day, I get to the restaurant. I'm like so green, man. Like obviously, like no idea. Like cooking at home versus cooking in a professional kitchen is like so different. Like people are making fun of me. Like I'm going there. Like people are like, "What is this guy doing?" Like, I come with like sweatpants, like Nike shoes, a t-shirt, like a Salesforce like t-shirt, a backwards hat. They're just like, "Who is this guy?" Like all like the Spanish cooks and like just like kind of making fun of me. Like mocking and whatever. It was all good. So I go in there and he's like, you see that case of corn over there? And I go, "Oh, I see like, 8 cases of corn." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "That's your project today." He's like, "You ever shuck corn?" I go, "No." He goes, "Well, that's what you're gonna work on." So from like 11 to like 8 at night, I shucked corn all day. Um, and it was funny, and it was also like it was one of those moments where you're like, "What the fuck am I doing?" type thing. You're like, "Wow, I totally made a mistake. Like I should probably just run back to my job and keep making a lot of money and go from there." But I was just like intrigued. I was like, "All right, cool. Like this is whatever. Like this is like everybody starts somewhere. I literally have to start at the bottom. Like I have to start at the bottom for like my whole thing was like I wanted people to respect what I was doing, like in the kitchen. And like obviously I wanted to learn and like, grow and whatever, but like in the kitchen, like respect is like the number one thing. Yeah. Like that's like and that like it's everywhere, right? It's like you have you have your people that are, running shit. You have your people that are like the really good cooks. You have the people that are like aren't so good. You have the hard workers. You have the people that are complaining. It's like a company, right? So I wanted them to respect me, and and obviously I wanted to learn, so much. Sure. Totally. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And I went in there with no ego, like I think that was like the biggest thing. Like I didn't go in there acting like I knew what I was doing. I didn't go in there being like, "Oh, like I'm going to be the best cook in the world." I went in there being like, "Yo, I don't know anything." Like I cook chicken parm at home. Like, I've cooked pasta. I've cooked, simple meals at home by myself. I know nothing about professional cooking. And I was very transparent and very honest with everyone, the chefs, the cooks, the prep cooks, the dishwashers, etc. And I treated everybody as if they were the same. Like you know, like whether you're washing dishes, whether you're a really good cook, whether you're, prepping the food, whether you're an executive chef, or front of the house people, like you were saying, like, the bartenders, the servers, like it's like a family, So like I treated everybody, and they all knew like what I was doing, and some of them like respected what I was doing, others just didn't really care, they were just doing their own thing, and um, after a while, when as I showed up and as I kept on, showing up and improving, my first night, like, because it's a structure, right? It's like you go in, you prepare, so you know what foods you're cooking, and then you're actually cooking on the line. Uh, so you're working during service. They needed to break me in before I did all that. And like the first night I started cooking on the line, which was months down the road, it was disaster. Like I was all over the place, like it was a shit show. Um, but as you learn, you practice, you ask the other chefs, the other cooks, what they're doing, you kind of, my mentality was like I wanted to find the best person there and like ask how they got to where they're at. Really just kind of like, learn and shadow from them, and then try to cut out all the people that were negative and the complainers, because you're always going to have people like that in any environment. You're going to have the negative, people that are going to complain and have the bad attitude. So I try to distance myself from those people and try to, surround myself with the people that were killing it, cooking really well and just like positive. I think just working at big companies, working at other companies and kind of just going, I think just having them like, um, you know, teach me the skills that I needed to be successful. Like when I was selling, it was always like, hey, meet with these guys and girls, these people, the top performers. And I always just had that mentality, like if I wanted to, you know, I wanted to talk to the people I wanted to talk to the winners. I wanted to talk to the people that were making a lot of money, that were crushing it, that were hitting their quotas, to kind of go, to be in their minds and really understand, what their perspectives are, because you can have one person take over a territory, have a complete, and then have another person, kind of with a negative attitude, look at the territory completely different. So what I want to do is really just surround myself with the people that were doing well, um, and that's kind of what I want to do at the restaurant. Find the cooks that were crushing it. Find the people that were really skilled and talented, and you can tell, you can tell who's good, who's polished, who's there for the money, who's in it for, just because they have to, and then who's in it because they love it. So that's kind of the intention there. Mhm. Oh, yeah, it's a good question. Yeah. It, it's a really, really good question because I did think about that, as I was shucking the corn, as I was the second day, I didn't even get to tell you the second day I walk in the kitchen and the head chef is like, "Hey, we have nothing really for you to prep, but we got these speed racks, which is basically where you put racks on, put racks of food on the on like a platform so it cools down. We have these speed racks that we need you to put together. If you can just focus on that for the next 6 hours. I'm not I don't come from a background where I'm like handy or anything like that. But I was like, you know what? I'll figure it out. Whatever. Fuck it. I'm here now. I'll figure it out. And there were times where I'm like, maybe I should just maybe I should just feel like this is, I should stick with it as a hobby. But you know what? Throughout every single step, every single, um, sequence, I learned something. I learned now I know how to shuck corn. That's gonna stick with me forever. I know how to put together a speed rack now. I know what it takes to cook in a professional kitchen. I know how to prep the food to make sure everything goes smooth because there's a flow in the kitchen, right? Everything needs to be prepped. You need to be prepared. You need to be organized if you want to be successful cooking, on the line. So everything that you might look back at it, you might be in the moment and say, "Fuck, man, this sucks. Like, this is, a waste of my time. I'm not learning anything, blah, blah, blah." But then you look back at it, because it's been about 2.5 years. I look back at it and I'm like, man, I'm so appreciative of that opportunity. I am so appreciative of shucking corn for 8 hours, and now I can tell stories like that, and it's going to stick with me forever. Um, so, were there times that I doubted myself and I was like, fuck it, let me just go back to corporate job and make, a ton of money and go from there and just kind of be like okay with life and, have my weekends off and, work my 9 to 5 and be good? Sure. But, I really wanted more and I felt like I wasn't having an impact. And I wanted to really, immerse myself in food. And I knew I loved food. I knew I wanted to immerse myself in it. Um, and I always had an end goal of to like own a business. When I left my company, I always wanted to, do my own thing, own a small business, and then, um, work on it and grow it and scale it. So, it's a really good question you bring up. Really good question. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there was a turning point at work where I was kind of just like sitting around and I was working in the kitchen at part time. I was at the office and I was just like totally checked out. I was like I want nothing to do with this place. I really want to scratch the itch. And my manager and I at the time, we had a really good conversation. Um, and she was like, "Listen, like I think you should, go for it." And that's where I was like, "You know what? I think I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna work in the kitchen and potentially go to culinary school." And that's exactly what I did. I wound up leaving my company and then working in the kitchen, 4 or 5 days a week, full time, still without getting paid. So I was working for free, and my whole thing was like I just wanted an education, and that's where culinary school kind of was in the back of my mind. I winded up going to, three different culinary schools in New York City, or two different culinary schools in New York City, Institute of Culinary Education, Institute of Culinary Center, and I was very very close to going to Institute of Culinary Center. It was right in my kind of price range. I shadowed a bunch of classes. I met with the administrators. I met with different chefs over there. I met with the students. I really did my due diligence. Like a lot of people, I sat on multiple classes. I wanted to make sure it was the right fit. And then I winded up, talking with the chef that my buddy kind of referred me to that I was working for. I was like, "Hey man, like I'm really interested to go to the culinary school. Culinary school. What do you think?" He's like, "Dude, honestly, don't do it. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of money." He's like, "You can learn everything on the job, and more, and some." So I was like, you know what? This is, either do I pay 30 grand for, culinary school and learn everything in 6 months, or do I work for free at multiple restaurants, you know, learn everything and kind of take it from there? So I looked at it as if I was getting paid $30,000. I looked at it as if I was getting paid 30K. I was, you know what? I'm gonna fucking work. I'm not gonna go to culinary school, and I'm so glad I didn't because a lot of that money I'm putting towards my business. And that's where it was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna, culinary school is always in the back of my mind. And like, if you go to culinary school, like, sure, like you learn a ton, like you get education, but I'm kind of more of like a rapid fire, like throw me in the fire, let me see what I screw up, and then how do I learn from that? Instead of just like, you know, I was always an okay student, whatever, but I was always better on the job. I was always better learning and honing my skills on the job. There's only so much you can't teach, um, how to run or how to work out or how to do a push up. You actually have to do it, right? Same with cooking. You can't teach how to, saute the right amount of onions, so it's very caramelized. You can't teach how to, grill the juiciest, most amazing chicken breast. You have to actually do it. You have to screw up. You have to make mistakes, and after that, you learn. So that's kind of what my mentality was when I was working in the restaurant. Was let me just figure it out. Let me screw up, and then let me learn from there. No, different. Sort of. It's a different business model, right? My whole thing was I always came from a family where we always cooked our own meals. Once in a while we would order, a pizza on a Friday night, or order some takeout food, etc. Um and I actually saw, like, in restaurants, like the amount of butter, oil, and heavy cream being used in every single recipe is actually pretty crazy. And I was like, man, like I would love to own a restaurant. I would love to own like a small place, but I don't want to, like, I can't bring myself to cook food where doused in oil and butter and you know deep fried. Although I love it, although it's delicious and it's amazing, it tastes really good. I knew it just wasn't what I wanted to do. And it always goes back to like me, eating healthy and then meal prepping for my own, and then meal prepping for some other people. and then actually while I was cooking in the restaurant, I was promoting myself to people that, hey guys, like I left my full time job, like I'm working in a restaurant, blah blah blah, whatever. And then I wound up cooking for people in town, and then I got bigger, and then people like saw like the progression that I had, and it really took off from there. And while I was working at the restaurant, I was making like 50, 60 meals for people, um, for different people while I was working. So I was working at the restaurant from like Tuesday to like Saturday, and then I was going on Sunday. I was buying a bunch of stuff, and then I would cook on Monday for people. And then I started to, the first like the first week, I didn't even have enough money to buy containers for people, so I would basically make them give me their containers. But, like, that got to a point where that was a nightmare because no one would I would give them back their containers, but then they wouldn't give them back to me because they wouldn't be home or they would forget, and then it was just, like, a logistical, like, nightmare. I was like, "Fuck it." Like, I'm just gonna like, I made, like, a week's worth of money, and I'm like, "I'm just gonna buy containers." So I wound up buying, like, 200 containers from Restaurant Depot, and I was like, "Alright, cool, like, we're in business." So from there, it kind of took off a little bit, and I was like, "Wow, this is really cool. I might have something." Um, and I actually left my restaurant job and to really focus on this. Fast forward a few months, I meet this this guy, Alfonso, who he actually used to know somebody that worked with me at the restaurant, and he was working at some Italian restaurant in Hoboken. He's like, "Hey man, like I think we could actually do a decent amount of meals in this kitchen." So I wound up meeting the owner, this guy Frank, really nice guy, um, and we kind of had not a partnership. It was just an agreement, basically saying, "Hey, like let me use your kitchen and your walk-in fridge space on off hours, and I'll cook my food." Because I was cooking everything at the time when I left the restaurant. I was cooking everything in my small ass apartment in Hoboken. Yeah, it was very very conducive to growth. Um, my roommates would get very mad with me. Dishes all over the place. I'm kind of cooking up a storm. I was walking downstairs with grilled chicken, grilling because I have a backyard. So I was like grilling chicken on there and steaks on there. I was like sauteing vegetables upstairs, cooking rice, fire alarms going off. It was a nightmare. So like yeah, there were times where it was fine, but other times, I'm doing 60 meals out of this small 600 square foot apartment. I can't do it. So I winded up meeting this guy who introduced me to the owner, and then I was paying him basically, an hourly fee, and I use his space, and um, but it was annoying because I could only work when they weren't open. So we would cook like 2 3 days a week, and then I would be cooking like Saturday night, Sunday night, and then Monday morning. Like we would prep everything like Saturday and Sunday, and then cook everything on Monday. But like the hours were just like insane because it was just like they would open at 9 and then close at 10. So I would get there like 10:30, cook overnight, sleep, go back, cook, sleep, and then get a couple hours Sunday into Monday, and then wake up, cook, and then deliver all the meals. So it was pretty crazy for a while. Um, and then I winded up meeting, getting introduced. I was doing like a tasting. I was doing like a sampling outside of a store. Buddy I went to high school with, he was like, "Hey man, like I think you should talk to this one guy who owns a bunch of acai places." I don't know if you know what acai is. Yeah, so very popular. This place, it's called Sweetberry. He was the owner. I met him. Then he's like, "Hey man, we actually have a commercial kitchen like right, 10 minutes from you. That we're not really using. We're only doing like smoothies and acai bowls. We have like a burners and stoves and fridges, etc." He's like, "You want to use it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." I'm like, "When can I use it?" He's like, "You can use it whenever." So I worked out a similar agreement with him where I basically use the kitchen. And it's funny, I'm in that same kitchen now, but he's not in there anymore because, um, he's just they weren't doing a lot of business there. So new people came in, they knew I was cooking there. They got my contact like that week, it was like I was basically getting kicked out of this kitchen because he was leaving this kitchen and I didn't know what I was gonna do. I was like, oh my god, like I'm out of the kitchen. Like this is not good. Like I can't cook my meal. Like this is like of course I have my backup plans, commissary. I can always go back to you know that guy Frank's kitchen, whatever. I didn't want to, but it is what it is. So the guy, I talked with him, basically just like just doing like, hey man, like can I stay, like whatever. He's like, yeah. He's like, no problem. He's like, we're gonna run a they're doing like these like deep fried tacos, which is like different concept. And he's like, we're not open till 2 o'clock, so you can like work in the mornings. So it just like it wound up being like one of those moments where like you're freaking out, you're like, oh my god, I'm screwed, like my life's over, like my business is gonna close, like oh I can't do anything, to being like, all right, everything is fine, like you're okay, like you can still use the kitchen, don't worry about it, like it's not a big deal. And now I'm in there, we're cranking out hundreds of meals on a weekly basis. So that's pretty sure. Nope. Well, it's funny. I have two people that I used to work with at the restaurant working for me now. So it definitely goes to show like you need to respect everybody, no matter what they do, no matter what role they're in, no matter how low or high it is. Like, and I always had that mindset, even when I was at the corporate world, even when I was working at whether you're the CEO or you're the janitor, or you're a middle manager. Like I don't care who you are, I'm gonna treat you the same exact way. I'm gonna be respectful, I'm gonna be courteous, and I'm gonna genuinely want to talk to you and get to know you. Like that was always my mentality from the start. And that still is, and that's kind of how I trickle it down to my team. Like no one is more important than anyone else in this, in the kitchen. Like just because Brandon, you're a head cook, and Jerry, you're washing dishes, you know doesn't mean that someone has more authority than others. We're all equal. We're all on the same team. If someone is struggling, or someone doesn't show up, we got to pick up slack for everyone else. And that's kind of what I want to teach, as I build my company. Because I think it's important to have that in the culture, to to um, to be successful in the long run. I mean, it was definitely a factor, but I just kind of took it as I'm learning from the best of the best. I'm under, because when you're cooking, you're under, you're under a lot of pressure. So it's a little nerve wracking at times. When you have the head chef kind of yelling at you. And one of the first weeks I started in restaurant week. So it was like it was a mess. That's why, like, when I first started cooking on the line, it was restaurant week. It was the busiest week of the year, basically. You put me in, but it's like you learn. So every other week was so easy compared to that week, because it was like, so like I got to learn the busiest time. I got to make so many mistakes, and I'm grateful for that, because every other week made it seem like it was a joke. So, I would always over prepare and, whatever, make sure I had all my ducks in a row. Cause like, it's funny, a lot of the stuff that you learn working at a job, working at a big company, you can translate that into cooking. Being highly prepared, being organized, um, are two of the most important things when it comes to cooking. Because if you're not prepared and you're not organized, your night is going to be a shit show. It's going to be the longest night of your life. You're going to go in the weeds, quote unquote, which is basically like, um, when you have a certain amount of orders, you have no idea what's going on. You're in the weeds so deep where, you're just kind of like, you're just, you know, you're trying to tread above water, but you can't even move. Basically, you have no idea what's going on, and it happens. It happens to everyone. Um, but not if you're prepared and not if you're organized. That'll never happen. So, um, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where you learn a lot. Learn a lot. Yeah. I mean, it was important, but I never wanted validation from anyone. Like it was one of those things where I knew like I needed to look out for my best interests and my own happiness. Um, and like, don't get me wrong, like there's times where I'm like super stressed, and there's times where I'm like, oh man, wouldn't it be nice to have a 9 to 5, But I always remember like why I got started, and I always kind of hang on that. Um, I wanted to really do it for myself, and aside from being like obsessed with food, I really wanted to build a company where I have an impact. So now with everything going on with coronavirus, every week we actually cook extra food, and we're giving it to the elderly, the homeless. I deliver meals to the police department, the Hoboken Police Department. We deliver meals to nurses and doctors. We're delivering more meals to nurses and doctors on the front lines next week. So I think just having the ability to make an impact, um, is super important. It makes me feel good, as opposed to making a ton of money, and being at a desk job that you don't really like, and you're kind of just coasting through life. Um, Not really caring about anything but living for the weekends. That was kind of my mentality. Yeah, yeah, for sure. So very active on Instagram. It's at Ready Strong Meals. Our website is www.readystrongmeals.com. Um, all my information's on there. Feel free to reach out if you have questions. If you want to order meals, if you want to learn more about my story, happy to chat. If you're kind of in that position of, hey, I'm working at a corporate job, I'm looking to do my own thing, I'm not sure what I want to do. I am sure what I want to do, but I'm not sure if I want to leave my job. I can kind of give you my advice and my 2 cents. I tell everybody this. A lot of people come to me and they ask, "Oh, like what should I?" I want to go and build a business, and this is what I want to do. Great. I think the most important thing is to have a plan and be strategic about it. Make sure you have a certain amount of money to stay, in your savings. You don't want to just go with $0 in your savings and then you're kind of scrambling and your back is up against the wall and you need to do something in a month, because you're not going to be successful in a month. It's going to take years. It's going to take 5, 10, 15, 20 years to really build something, meaningful and build that brand that you want. Um, when I first start, I mean, I'm only 2 years in, and now like people are starting to really like feel comfortable with me and starting to um, order and really trust that we have good product. That's taken 2 years, and I'm still learning and I'm still trying to grow it. So I think it's if you want to do something on your own, be strategic, have a plan, have a certain amount of savings, and make sure you are very patient. And I think you'll be successful. Sure. Um, I think it's definitely empowering to make money doing your own thing, as opposed to someone just paying you a paycheck because you're working for their dream. You're working for your dream, and you're building not only a company, but you're building your brand as well. So I think it's really cool that people are getting involved and ordering. And every time I have a new customer, it's like it's such a good feeling that people will actually like buy the food that we're cooking. So I think doing it for yourself is um, very empowering, that you can make money doing your thing, and then also making impact on others. Like obviously money's not everything, but you need money to survive and live, etc. But really just having making an impact and doing your own thing is just very empowering very empowering for me. Yeah, awesome, man. Thank you so much.